Buckley swings it far side for Mensah. Fire, score! Zach Mensah! The game is over! Zach Mensah!
This is Talking Sense, exploring the week that was, storylines, and what to expect, with the voice of your Merritt Centennials, Mantar Bandal.
The Merritt Centennials coming off a tough loss in game number 4, losing 2-1 in overtime on a goal that actually shouldn't have counted. We'll get to that in just a second. But hello and welcome to Talking Sense. I'm your host, Mantar Bandal. Well, it'll be a shorter segment today. There'll be 2 segments. This segment and segment 2 will have Fraser Rogers, the voice of the Penticton Vees, come on the show. And we'll talk to him about what he thinks of the series so far. But without further ado, let's get to how the Centennials did. Game 3. What a game that was. The Centennials all over Penticton. One of the rare games you'll see the Penticton Vees get outplayed like the way they did in game number 3. And all started off 5 minutes and 22 seconds into the game.
Puck goes into the corner, up the head. Miller tried to hold it in, could not. Being pressured by Ward. Ward. Nice pass for Regish. Regish moves in. Regish and a stop by Robson. Rebound scores! Mike Regish! And the Centennials up with the scoring! Michael Regish, his first of the second round. What a goal, what a setup by the Centennials. And they strike first here in game number 3.
Getting an uncharacteristic rebound from Matt Robson, puts it home, makes it 1-0. Tyler Ward, Chase Bell picking up the assist in that goal. The Centennials kept it coming.
Was off the draw, the Vees. Miller play it far side. Puck kept in by Mensah. Has a shot right in front, blocked. The rebound, loose, scores! Tyler Ward! The BMW line strikes again! Tyler Ward! Stay red hot, Tyler Ward!
Off a rebound, another one from Matt Robson. Tyler Ward, Zach Mensah, and Zach Bluler picking up the assists on that one. The Centennials would add another one in the second period, courtesy of Cade Gleekle at 12:36 mark. Mike Faulkner and Zach Mensah picking up another assist on that one. Sort of a weird play, kind of came out of the corner and puck just kind of found its way in, but hey, they all count the same. And in the third period, Nick Wicks got the dagger.
Chase Bell picks it up with the Centennials. He'll play it far side for Stefan Seeger. Near side for Wicks, who moves in. Wicks, shoot, scores! Nick Wicks! Nick Wicks! Who else but Nick Wicks? And the Centennials are up 4-0.
I was just literally singing the praises of Wicks moments before he scored that goal. So his timing is impeccable. Stefan Seeger and Tyrell Buckley picking up the assists on Wicks' goal. His first career BCHL playoff goal. The Vees got one back from Chris Clack, who put it off all 3 goalposts and in. The only one that would get by Jake Berger, who made 42 saves in game number 3. And Stefan Seeger adding an empty net at the very end to seal the deal. The Centennials going on to win 5-1 against the Penticton Vees. 834 on hand to catch that game. A great atmosphere, and it was outdone in game number 4. Unfortunately, not the result the Centennials wanted in game 4, but they played well in that one as well. Penticton just played better than they did in game number 3. And it all got started off. This time, the Vees got the game's first goal.
Fast. He skates out the other way now. Nice move to neutral zone up ahead for Campbell. Far side for Jones. Far side for Clack. Centers it. A shot stop by Berger. Rebound loose in front. Berger makes a save. No, it's in. The Vees score first. And it's 1-0 for Penticton.
It was a really even period. I mean, the shots were only 12-11, and Jones picking up his first 2 on the night at the 8:47 mark. Duncan Campbell and Chris Clack picking up the assists on that goal, and just sort of a weird goal. And to be honest, all 3 goals in the game, aside from the Centennials goal, were just weird goals. And the Centennials tied it up with 3 minutes left in the second period.
Over to the far side it goes. Seeger with it. Up ahead for Tyler Ward's got a breakaway. Tyler Ward's in all alone. Scores! Tyler Ward! It's a tie hockey game! Tyler Ward! His 9th of the postseason! On a breakaway, and he pulls out the Peter Forsberg! It's a tie hockey game at the Nicola Valley Memorial Arena!
On a breakaway, short-handed, Tyler Ward does the Peter Forsberg. He goes backhand with one hand on the stick, slides it past Robson, ties things up. There was no scoring in the third period. We went to overtime, and the most controversial goal in recent Merritt history. The Vees got the game winner from Nick Jones.
Campbell drops it there for Nick Jones. Jones over to the near side finds Tyconic. Tyconic up ahead finds Chris Clack. The V's move down the right side now. Clack moves in. Clack drops it for Jones. Jones cuts to the middle. Right in front, shot, scores! Nick Jones, the V's win and take a 3-1 series lead.
Chris Clack actually brought the puck in offside by a good foot, and unfortunately that was missed, and just seconds later it was in the back of the net for the Centennials, and it was just a weird one again from Jones. It's just slid along the ice, went underneath Berger. I don't think he ever saw the shot. And man, that's a tough way to lose a hockey game. I'm usually not very affected by results, whether it's a win or a loss. About an hour after the game, I'm usually over it by then. But that one stung. I played a lot of competitive sports growing up. I played over 6 different sports, and I never won a thing. And I had always been on the wrong side of those scores, like the one last night. And that one stung. As a former player, just not too long removed from hockey, even it stung, and I felt so terrible for the guys that the game winner would come on an offside that was missed. And unfortunately, the BCHL even knew it right as soon as it happened, but of course, nothing can be done now. Centennials just have to move on, and a missed offside is the difference between 2-2 or 3-1, which is where the Centennials find themselves currently on the wrong side of 3-1, heading into Penticton for game number 5. But you know what? It's an elimination game, but this is a resilient group, and Joe Martin actually guaranteed a win in game number 6. But before they get to game number 6, they got to win game number 5. And to talk more about that, we'll have Fraser Rogers, the voice of the Penticton V's, come on the show to talk about that in segment 2, which is coming up next. You're listening to Talking Sense. I'm your host, Mantar Bandal.
Welcome back to Talking Sense. This is segment 2 with the voice of your Merritt Centennials, Mantar Bandal.
The Merritt Centennials coming off a tough loss in game number 4 against the Penticton V's and head to Penticton for game 5 down 3-1 in the series. Hello and welcome back to Talking Sense. I'm your host, Mantar Bandal. We are now on to segment number 2, and we've got the voice of the Penticton V's on the line. It's Fraser Rogers. Fraser, how are you?
Good afternoon, Mantar. Thanks for having me on. Always a pleasure to come on your Talking Sense.
Thank you very much. Well, Fraser, very interesting developments. Obviously a controversial finish to game 4, but the V's take a 3-1 lead back to Penticton. Fred said there's a lot of things that had to change from game 3 to game 4, and I thought a lot did change. But in your eyes, what do you see from Penticton right now that you think will help in game 5?
Well, he's got back to what had made them so successful in games 1 and 2 in game 4. It's just a hard-nosed effort with a lot of balance and a lot of structure to the game. And quite honestly, game 3 give Merritt a lot of credit for forcing mistakes and making the V's turn the puck over. The V's were uncharacteristically sloppy in game 3 and just didn't have a good mindset. Weren't prepared to play in game 3 like they were in games 1 and 2, and Merritt was. They took him to task, and I think that was a bit of a slap on the wrist or a bit of a shot in the arm, whatever expression you want to use. It definitely got the V's refocused going into game 4 on Tuesday night, and it showed. The V's had a very solid game. Maybe one too many penalties they like to take, especially late in a 1-1 tie. But a lot of people can say, and beauty is in the eye of the beholder. But a lot of people can say, it was a really close game, and it was. But quite honestly, the V's had, I think, a lot of opportunities to make that game more than a 1-1 game going into overtime. And the second period was really good from Penticton, and then obviously they had a lot of penalties to kill off in the third period. But I thought the V's will value in that win, and to kind of answer your question roundabout way, I think it was just same old good habits that we saw in the first 2 games of the series. The V's got back to in game 4 and parlayed it into an overtime win and find themselves in the driver's seat up 3-1 in the series.
I think one player that's really impressed from what I've seen, and he was a big factor in game number 4, really has been the entire series. That's been Nick Jones, the captain of the V's, obviously leads by example. What did you see from Nick Jones so far that you really like so far in the series?
It's what he does all season. That's just kind of play with an edge and wears that C proudly. He's a guy that's not going to shy away from stepping into a shot, getting in the way of one, diving in front of a shot, taking some abuse in front of the opposition net. He's one of the first guys on the back check, coming back in his own zone. And he's not a guy that's only going to play when he has a puck on his stick. He is, another cliche term, but he is your prototypical 200-foot player. He wears a C. He's one of the most competitive players I've ever seen in my time in Penticton, no matter what he does. It's not even hockey. If it's just like, for example, a team Pictionary contest that they did on a road trip back in February, the guy takes it seriously. He literally does play to win, and you can see it in every shift. And I think he's just kind of brought his game into the playoffs, and he talked about it with me before the playoffs. You have to step up your game and, set the bar, and he did that in the playoffs. He's even taken it another level, and you just see him, hustling. It's funny because the overtime winner, a lot of people are not going to talk about this fact that he was actually one of the first guys back on a back check, and he was one of the last guys to enter the play, and he ends up scoring the goal because that's just him, 200 feet. He was out back behind his net trying to break up a forecheck by the Merritt Centennials, and he found a way to get on his horse and go down the other way and score the overtime winner. That kind of embodies what he is. He's just a guy that's going to roll up his sleeves and go to work every shift. He's going to take a lot of abuse because he's a star player for the V. He's top-line centerman, so he's going to get a lot of attention, but is not a guy that's going to shy away from the attention. He'll embrace that whacks and hacks or the shots after the whistle and, being targeted by the other team's top shutdown forward. He doesn't mind that. He's a gamer, and we're just seeing that now. A guy that can finish in areas and a guy that can finish in key situations. Scored the regulation goal last night and obviously scored the game winner as well. So just wearing the C and being what a captain needs to be this time of year.
Talk with Fraser Rogers, the voice of the Penticton Vees. Well, Fraser, I alluded to in series number 1, and it's true in every series ever. The hardest game to win is always the fourth game. What do the Penticton Vees need to do to wrap up this series in game number 5?
Act like they're down 3-1. Sense of desperation. I thought we saw it again in game 4. 13 in games 1 and 2, but, an expectation wasn't just a team, running around, getting away from their structure. It was a team that played with some urgency and played like they were never, leading the series, so to speak. Never were complacent until game 3, and that obviously cost the series. So go back to game 4 again, not to keep on dwelling on that, but there was urgency in the game. They knew it was a must there to get back at even terms and make it a best of 3 and to finish things off. As you mentioned, it is cliche, but it is true. The fourth game is the hardest to win because, the Merritt Centennials don't want to pack it in and let the V's walk all over them. They're going to come back and try to push back and have a counterpunch. So the V's have to be prepared for that. They're going to have to act like maybe it's their season on the line and have that desperation in their game. And there's a saying in hockey, I've heard Fred say it a lot, and a lot of coaches will use this expression, Mantar, in playoffs hockey, is once you have an opponent down, the key is, and it's an underrated skill for a group, the key is to keep your opponent down on the canvas, not let them dust themselves off, so to speak, and get back up. So to pull through game 5, it's all about mindset for the V's. Have a killer instinct and make sure they finish off the Merritt Centennials because there's any life into their game and have a game 6 because, the barn in Merritt at Nicola Valley Memorial Arena is not easy for the opposition to play in. So the V's know they have a duty at hand and a carrot dangling in front of them, the fact that they can end this series at home, and I think they'll take that to heart.
Well, it should promise to be a very exciting game number 5. Fraser, thanks so much for doing this once again.
Always a pleasure. Thanks, Mantar.
Fraser Rogers, the voice of the Penticton Vees, who lead the series 3-1, heading back to Penticton for game number 5. The Centennials will look to force a game 6, and that all gets underway at 7 o'clock at the SOEC. Thank you very much for tuning in to this edition of Talking Sense. In case you missed the earlier segment, you can find that online now at the Q101 blog, Centennials blog at q101.ca. For Talking Sense, I'm Mantar Bandel.